plaintiff, Richard LeClerc, was married to the defendant for 5 years, and they have 2 daughters together. Richard claims their marriage ended after the defendant confessed that she was cheating. Richard is suing because after they divorced, the defendant defaulted on truck payments that were in his name, so he was held responsible. Defendant Jessica Parker admits that while married to Richard, she had an affair that lasted 6 months. Jessica claims after she confessed, she and Richard went to counseling, but that only made things worse, and they ultimately divorced. Jessica denies owing Richard for anything.
Start with you.
Well, Miss Parker and I were married for about 5 years, and marriage was a pretty good marriage. We have 2 daughters, 10 and 12. And, at about 5 years in, she came to me and said that I'm having an affair. And it was a shock. And
How long has she been having it? Did she tell you that?
I don't recall at the time.
I was just wondering how good it was supposed to be. You said it was a good marriage, but yet 5 years later, she admitted that she was cheating. And how long did you cheat?
About 6 months.
Okay, so it was a good marriage outside of 6 months.
Yeah.
But she probably wanted to cheat before the 6 months. And that might have been 6 months prior to that, so it was a good marriage for 4 years. But go ahead, tell me how the fallout came. How did you discover she just came up to you like that?
No, she totally told me, just came out with it. And
did you ask why? You go ahead.
yeah, I was surprised, I was hurt. I didn't know what to do at the moment. I was in shock. After some of that wore off, we decided we didn't want to reconcile, and we were getting divorced. And
I'm just curious, you didn't say anything? You didn't say, why did you do that? Or what was wrong? I thought everything was all right. Who is the guy? How long have you been doing this? We have 2 children here. Did you say maybe we can work it out? Did she say, I don't want to work it out? Why don't you give me some information?
So this was our whole marriage. He didn't talk. This is typical.
So you don't share the same perspective on
No.
the marriage, that it was a good marriage?
Probably not.
No communication?
Right.
Go ahead.
So we decided to get divorced. And
I'm just wondering, I just want to hear that conversation. I guess I might
I
just,
told
I'm
him-
being nosy perhaps.
I told
but
him right
I
off
think
the
there are a
bat.
lot of nosy people at home. So when you came to him and said, that's it, I got somebody else. Well, what happened?
He really didn't say anything. So
He just walked away.
kind of, yeah.
All right, and then the next time you all encountered each other, what was discussed?
I think we talked maybe.
Did you sleep in the same bed that
Yeah,
night?
sure, yeah.
All right, so when you woke up, was there a discussion about it?
I don't think so. No.
When did you next discuss it? How long after you telling him this did you discuss it?
We went to counseling and it made it worse.
No, but how long? You had to say, let's go to counseling.
Oh, like maybe a week. Maybe a
That
week.
was the first time it came back up?
Yeah.
You're right, he didn't talk much.
No.
You're right, because I'd have been talking a whole lot.
Yeah.
So 1 week later, what was the discussion then? I didn't want to say anything for a week about your cheating, but I've been thinking about it for a week, and it's time I tell you, you're a no good scoundrel. Don't really want to save this marriage, but for the sake of the kids and this marriage, I think from my perspective has been good, but let's go to counseling. Maybe you'll admit to the counselor and I'll see exactly how low you are. That's what I would say it to you. Then you say, well, it's your fault. If you'd have talked to me, this is a perfect example of your lack of communication. And that's the problem we have here. And that's why I did it. I'd have been a little stuck then. That's it. Okay, maybe you're right. Let's go to counseling. And then what happened there?
Oh boy, that was opening a can of worms. Counseling is not so good. We, after that, decided to just go ahead and be done.
You know what I've heard, even from marriage counselors, a couple of them, and that is they'll meet with the parties individually. So you tell me all your issues and what you believe, and I'll give you my insight. You tell me what you believe, and I'll give you my insight. And then I'll bring you all back together, and I'll give an analysis of what I think is wrong and how I think you all can improve your marriage if you're really committed to doing it. Or I'll come back and say, yeah, all the stuff I heard, nah, that ain't for you. You need to move on right away. In fact, you really don't need to go back to the house today. Did the counselor suggest that you all go separate ways, or did you all just go off on each other in the meetings?
Well, it's hard to fight with somebody that doesn't talk. So I just kind of decided to leave.
All right, because still the communication
Right.
issue was there. All right.
Right.
And then he's suing you today regarding breach of contract involving what? Tell me specifics on this. Now, you got to talk this time if you want to win.
No
Go
problem.
ahead.
It was a 2001 Toyota 4Runner that Miss Parker asked for in the divorce decree, and I didn't have any problem saying yes. She wanted to take over payments.
So the judge agreed to allow her to take over the payments as part of the divorce decree. Anyone have the decree? Anyone have anything from the judge
I
or
have
the
it.
court regarding the car? You all can't cut deals without the court's approval. You can agree to a settlement, but then you still have to take it to the court.
Parker and I were married for about 5 years. We have 2 daughters, and at about 5 years in, she came to me and said that I'm having an affair, and it was a shock.
Plaintiff Richard LeClure was married to the defendant, and they have 2 children. But he claims they divorced after the defendant confessed that she was having an affair.
All right, and it does say that. You were given responsibility for the car loan of $11,447. And what happened there?
Well, about 90 days into it, bank calls me and says, you need to make a payment or return the vehicle. And so,
Because she had not paid in 90 days.
correct.
See, he
So-
should have said have the other guy pay for it. That's what I would say.
That's a good point. You've been around me enough to know the game. Y'all see that? Oh, Doyle, learning the game. That's right. See, they say you can't be around game for all those years and not get something.
Rub off on me a little bit.
Yeah, it got to rub off on you, but that's going to cost you now. The game is not free.
That's right. Now I got to
The
pay.
game is not to be told, it's to be sold. Don't use that. All right, so what's your defense, ma'am?
I was going to school and I couldn't afford to keep the car, so I offered to give it back to him. Then once I was
He
informed,
just agreed? Okay.
and then once this judgment came about, we made a verbal agreement outside of court to how to make it fair for both of us. So we each held up our end of that agreement, and so I assumed we were done with the car.
The resolution you all came
Right.
to outside of the court
Right.
was satisfactory to both? What was that resolution?
He was supposed to cover our children with health insurance, and so I provided the health insurance in exchange for him to pay off this car.
The problem is this agreement outside of
Right.
the divorce decree. What you should have done is say, okay, you agree to this? Okay, let's go back to the judge and ask the judge if we can amend the divorce decree because we believe that we must deal with this in a different manner. And the judge will say, okay, you all agree to doing what you just said? And the judge will say, okay, that's the amended divorce decree, but you don't have that. You have the same divorce decree. And what happened with the finances? Did they garnish a check or take it from you, or what happened?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
And the deficit, is that the $3,732 in deficit between turning it in and what was owed?
Correct.
All right. And yeah, it's not a good idea, in my opinion, to cut outside deals with your wife subsequent to the divorce, or even this type of deal as part of the divorce. I'm going to trust you to make the car loan payments and trust you with my credit. I know we're divorced, but I'll trust you with my credit. It'll stay in my name. You make the payments. Oh, yeah? The way you did me? You gonna trust me with your credit? All right. I got you this time. No, all divorced couples don't go through that. Many of them are nice afterwards, but some of them ruin your credit. $3,732. She is admitted to failing to abide by the divorce decree, causing you a loss of $3,732. That's my judgment. Good luck to you both.
Just quit involving the kids in all of that and telling them that daddy's suing them, and just be on a friendship basis with the kids. That's all I want, is to get along.
I don't have anything to say.
Just want to say I'm glad that we can put this kind of behind us, and we need to act like adults and raise the kids with some better morals and a little bit better of judgment on things.